social justice is the view that everybody deserves equal economic, political, and social rights and opportunities now and in the future. And that really resonated with people in the group, especially that bit about rights and opportunities. So I guess in the context of our work, and we're talking about curriculum, it's the learning that's going to enable those rights and opportunities. So lots of learning, firstly, about who we are as human beings, learning that makes you feel valued as a unique human, helps you value those rich, diverse, the richness and diversity of humanity and of all the kind of complex identities that we all have, learning that builds that empathy, that sense of belonging for me, helps me understand how can kind of create that sense of belonging for somebody else, really tied up with learning about rights, discrimination, learning about prejudice. But I think the more we've explored it, kind of as you were saying there, this is just so crucial to the four capacities. It's some of the learning that enables the four capacities, right? This is learning that's going to enable everyone to grow as an individual, first of all, as an individual human being, but learning what it is to be a citizen now, if I'm 9 years old, or I'm 13 years old, or I'm 17 years old, being a citizen in the community I live in, the community I learn in, but also about being able to take those things into adulthood and ultimately make the world a better place, I guess.
That's great. That's a really kind of like succinct, definition that you've given there, and obviously you're really, really close to the work. A couple of bits to kind of pick up on is I kind of want to emphasise is that like we've had phenomenal groups of people that have been involved in all of this work, but the folks that have been involved, in the work around social justice, have been incredibly passionate, haven't they, in terms of what they've doing, and I think the other bit that you sort of mentioned up there is, the notion of social justice, indeed the definition, as you talked about there, is that's embedded in our standards, in Scotland as well. So that's just so important as well.
I think the genesis of this work was us inviting people together really for a conversation about big bits of work that were part of what we were trying to do, what teachers were trying to do, lots of us were trying to do in Scottish education, just to look for, the opportunity to kind of explore joins. A couple of years ago, when we were co-creating the anti-racist curriculum principles, so that's that document breaking the mold that I guess maybe some listeners will be familiar with, some won't be, but that was a document that was written by practitioners, by educators who were absolutely steeped in anti-racist practice and theory, but also really good at explaining these kind of concepts to others who weren't, and teachers who weren't, and people like me, I suppose, at the time. And that document was really written, there was a real attempt to support a really intersectional approach when that was written. So that, that encourages people to think about the curriculum offer. Do we have a curriculum in our setting that meaningfully represents all the communities that we have in Scotland? And if you're doing that through the lens of race and you're looking at, what are the representations of Black and minority ethnic people in our curriculum offer, in our library, in our stories, and what we teach, but, going along with that, you might want to ask, well, what are the representations of women? Where are the positive gay role models? So I think we know, so much from what young people have told us over a period of time. It's a bit like that Liz Lochhead poem Bairn sang, that whole thing about, I think, is it white, posh, male and dead, could describe a lot of the Scottish curriculum quite traditionally. So we were having more and more conversations about making joins, I guess. So we just invited folk to come together. We knew people who were doing really good work around anti-racism, or maybe work around rights through the UNCRC, or really good work on gender, or were exploring things like disability in the curriculum. But really importantly, people who were doing this with children every single day in early years, primary, secondary, but getting them into the room with a couple of colleagues who'd taken really joined up approaches to equalities at local authority level, and some colleagues from the national organisations that were leading the work and providing a lot of the support, just to have a conversation initially about, right, is there something we could do here that might be worth exploring around potential joins? Really being aware of a big danger, and there is potentially a danger if framing something like that people then see things all as equalities and we lose the distinct identities, right? We're not going to achieve an anti-racist education for every child in Scotland unless we have and continue to have really distinct leadership and identity and support around that. But we kind of recognised, if you're a teacher, if you were thinking about your own practice in this work, there were a number of things in the space, documents and support, professional learning, sitting in different places, using different language. Maybe there was an opportunity for us to think about, are there are there key messages about curriculum design that we could join helpfully? So that's what we came together. That's what we started to talk about.
I just